So Saul, how's it feel being the guest on the shortest podcast we're ever going to do?
Why would that be the shortest?
Because we're talking animation and, it's not a real thing. It's not like a TV show.
Yeah, I have actually heard that before. People are like, oh, you make cartoons. I'm like, well, actually, it's animated features. It's animated television. It's not cartoons.
Yeah, and garbage men are sanitation consultants or whatever. Right. Yeah. Now we kid. So we've known each other for a long time. So I don't think there's a conversation we're able to have without
a couple of
jokes. You giving me a hard time or me giving you a hard time about something.
Right.
Okay. So why don't you go?
That's why I'm here.
You needed a break from all the love you get at home.
Excitement for today. That's right.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can step up to the plate for you. So, just briefly, like, what was your journey, as an animator?
How many minutes do you want that in?
45 seconds.
Okay, 45 seconds. So, look, I grew up in New York. I didn't grow up in Hollywood. I didn't know any film people. I didn't even know that a creative job was a possibility. I was 11 years old. I saw the movie E.T., and that made me want to go into film. I remember actually tapping my mom at the end of the movie as the credits were rolling. And I'm like, Mom, that's what I'm going to do someday. She's like, what, you want to leave planet Earth in a spaceship? So I wanted to be a filmmaker. I didn't know how to do that. I went to the library, got books on filmmaking, cameras, lenses, storyboarding. I found out the director of E.T., Steven Spielberg, made movies on the weekends. So I got a Super 8 camera, my twin sister, my older brother. Every weekend we're making movies. I made murder movies, monster movies. One movie, I tied my sister up to a tree really tight.
She's still there?
Yeah. Well, we went to watch the movie after. My mom's like, I like the movie, but where's your sister? I'm like, well, she's still tied to the tree. My sister doesn't like when I tell that story. So I was going to be a filmmaker, a director. I got a director's chair. I knew everything about filmmaking.
This is at the age of 11?
At the age of 11, 12. And then I get to high school. Somebody comes up to me in high school and says, well, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? I'm like, well, I want to be a filmmaker. They're like, no, you don't. Because if you want to be a filmmaker, you're going to have to move out to Hollywood. And Hollywood is filled with weirdos, people like us. And they said to me, you don't want to end up a weirdo, do you? And I said, no, I don't want to end up a weirdo. And right then and there, I gave up on my dream of wanting to be a filmmaker.
Really?
Because one person told me I would end up a strange weirdo. So that was it. So my parents
did they define what did they mean by weirdo?
I think they just thought like Hollywood is filled with, strange, like Venice Beach.
Right.
Like that's what I think people.
I mean, they're not wrong.
It's true. Like, look, today I do live in Hollywood, and I'm sure our kids would tell us their dads are weirdos. So, right, so much for that.
It has nothing to do with our professions, by the way.
Right, that's right. Or the fact that we play with toys and things.
Yes, right.
But look, I gave up on the dream. My parents said, so what are you going to do? I said, well, I'll go back to drawing, because that's really what I started to do at like 6 and 7 years old. I love to draw. So my parents hired an art teacher to come to the house. And every week she would teach me to draw from life. Mm-hmm. I remember she said to me, Saul, drawing is about seeing. You have to develop your eye to look at the world a certain way. And I was terrible at drawing hands. That was like the biggest weakness for me. And she told me, draw your hand from a different position every single day before you go to bed, and you'll get better at drawing hands. And she taught me one of the greatest lessons about trying to turn our weakness into our strength. Amazing teacher and mentor. And then I was going to be an artist. Until I went to the movies and saw another movie, The Little Mermaid. Yeah. So I'm watching that movie. The credits are rolling. I tap my mom. I'm like, Mom, that's what I want to do. She's like, what, you want to fall in love with a fish? I'm like, no, Mom, I want to be an animator at Disney. Because you see, Jeff, animation combines my two passions, my love of drawing, my love of filmmaking, put them together, Disney. And plus I found that they had a studio in Orlando. I don't have to go out to LA. So there I was, junior in high school, and I knew that my dream was to become a Disney animator. I just had a big problem. I didn't know how. Today you want to become a Disney animator, you type in Google, how do you become a Disney? You'll find out. You'll get about 100 answers. Maybe 10 are actually right, but you'll find out. Well, back then, no internet. So my mom took me, not my older brother, not my twin sister, took me on a trip to Disney World and walks me around Disney World just to ask people, how can my son become it was actually very embarrassing. We were getting on the It's a Small World boat ride.
In Disney World?
Yeah.
Like that'd be like me going to like a shopping mall and walking around and just asking people I meet, so how do I become a shoe designer?
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. Mom, if you're watching this, that's exactly what it felt like. So we're getting on the It's a Small World boat ride. And the Disney employee, they're called cast members.
Right.
She says to my mom, she says to us, how many in your party? We're stepping on. I'm like, 2. My mom goes, by the way, my son wants to be a Disney animator. Can you help him? The lady's like, ma'am, this is a boat ride. Like we don't hire animators. We soon found out that Disney hires all of their employees at the Disney Casting Building, which is the most beautiful, whimsical building. Even the doorknobs look like the ones from Alice in Wonderland that speak. They were made out of brass. It was amazing. Wow. I open up the doors. I walk into this atrium, gold statuettes of Mickey, Donald, Pluto, Goofy, amazing. And even the air was like Disney or like pixie dust in the air. It was amazing. I go for the interview. The lady says, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'd like to be a Disney animator." She goes, "Well, we don't hire those here." I said, "Well, who do you hire?" She goes, "Well, people that work the rides, people that make the Dumbo ride go up." And I'm like, "That's not my dream." She goes, "Well, hold on." Walks out of her office, comes in a minute later with a piece of paper, which became the most valuable piece of paper I ever held in my hands. It was a list of 8 schools, 8 art schools that Disney recruits their artists from. And she said, if you want to be a Disney animator, you need to go to one of these schools. It was an incredible moment.
Do you remember
Jeff.
what schools were on the list?
Yeah, there was like Cal Arts and Ringling and Maryland. And that was the moment where I went from dreamer of how would I ever accomplish this to I have the recipe, the recipe of how to achieve it. The equation in my head was now built. It was Saul plus go to one of these schools will equal dream of becoming a Disney animator. It's one of the things I tell students a lot. It's one thing to dream big. It's another to find out the process of how to accomplish something. So I went to one of these schools in Columbus, Ohio, the Columbus College of Art and Design. Incredible school. And first week, Disney representative comes from Disney World, one of the original animators on Sleeping Beauty. His name was Bill Matthews. He used to hang out with Walt Disney. He stands on the stage. There's 750 students there, every freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And he looks out to the audience and he says, "Before we begin, how many of you want to be Disney animators?" Every hand went up. He said, "Just so you know, out of the 750 of you, maybe, just maybe 4 of you will ever work there." That's how competitive it is. And when he said that, I remember thinking, I wonder who the other 3 are going to be. Because look, in life, we either believe in ourselves that we can accomplish or we don't. And then he said, if you want to get into Disney, you got to get the Disney internship. In order to get that, you need a portfolio, 25 pages filled with figure drawing and anatomy of animals and people, all drawn from life. No cartoon characters, no drawings of Mickey Mouse.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah. I never drew a cartoon character before I even got to Disney. I never did any animation before I got to Disney. All Disney wanted was us to be able to draw from life, movement. We'd go to the zoo. I'd draw elephants walking back and forth at the zoo. I got my portfolio together my sophomore year, sent it into Disney, and I got rejected. All right, I didn't expect to get in the first time. I just wanted to go through the process. I remember I got an envelope in the mail. It had a Disney embossed Mickey. My name was typed on the front. I was happy they knew I was alive. Forget that I got rejected. Another year goes by. And I try to get into Disney again.
Did you save that rejection letter?
Oh, I saved it.
Good.
Yeah, that's the fuel, right? That's the fuel to keep going. Second year I try. It's my junior year, actually. And my best friend, Andy, gets in, and I got rejected again. And then I came up with a way to take that feeling of being a failure away. I gave up on my whole dream. That kid who believed in himself as a freshman, I lost that belief in myself, gave up on the entire dream because reality said it. Reality was, I was just a guy that really wanted to work there, but who was I to think that I could get it? So often I meet people and they squash their dreams because they're like, what, dreams are for people like that. No, it's not for me. And I gave up. And then I went to the movies again. It's incredible how you see a movie at a certain time in your life and it speaks to what you're going through. So I went and I saw the movie.
Wait, let me guess.
Yeah.
Bloodsport 2.
A movie about...
I really wanted to be the one who inspired you.
Right, I know. The movie's about a guy who's 5 feet tall. He doesn't have an ounce of athletic ability.
Oh, my bar mitzvah movies.
And he wants to play football at Notre Dame. What movie?
Rudy.
Boom, there you go. You use that movie now in a sentence with people who are over the age of 30 and they know it. Under the age of 30, like, who's what? Never heard of it. But I saw that movie at the right time. And tears were streaming down my face. I was crying because I was thinking if this kid who's unathletic and could get into Notre Dame with an insane amount of hard work, then me, who I thought was untalented, could get into Disney with an insane amount of hard work. I vowed to never give up. I got new drawings together, went to the zoo in the freezing cold. I mean, I could tell you story after story. I got new drawings together, sent them into Disney, and a whole new world. I got in.
Good segue.
Yeah. And started working on Pocahontas. And there you go. I got my dream. And for anyone listening, you know, it's one thing that I try to share a lot is that, you know, it's no reason you can't accomplish what you dream as long as you find out the recipe of how and put an insane amount of hard work to achieve it.
So what I'm getting from what you've just told us is it was all just luck.
Just luck.
Just luck. Yeah. Okay, great. Moving on. So, no, and you know, just as a side note, you know, not to, you know, spoiler alert, but you're now working at Dreamworks Animation,
right? The competitor,
right. But you know, you go back to, you know, the you know, what throughout the game ball in your career ambitions was ET. So did you have that sense like,
oh, full circle?
You never actually. You never put
that one
really
together.
Put
2 and 2 together there. You're right. And if you look at that old Spielberg logo with the emblem, right, that's good. I like that.
Wow.
That's good.
I'm surprised that.
Full circle.
Full circle.
So it really did start at Dreamworks in a way.
In a way.
I like that, man.
Good.
I like that.
Okay, you want to write that down?
Yeah, actually, I did get to meet Spielberg a couple of times. And one time he came to campus and he gave this big presentation.
Campus meaning the Dreamworks
campus. The Dreamworks campus,
right,
yeah.
Right.
And it was just awesome. This is only about a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic. And just to hear him speak about Jurassic and ET, and I was like, wow, he's my guy.